Hi, I'm Joni Patry, and welcome to my YouTube channel. Well, today I want to talk about somebody that actually was recommended from my Patreon group. And if you don't know, what I do is for some people in Patreon, I ask, what should I do my next YouTube videos on? And there's somebody who gives me the best ideas. And it is Sing Tao, and he asked that I do a chart reading on Julian Assange. And Julian Assange actually has a birth time, and Sing Tao actually found me the birth time, so thank you so very much. So Julian Assange has been in the news for a long time. What he did, in case you don't know, he unlawfully published names of classified sources and classified information of things from the US government he should not have done. And he has been in prison in London for quite some time, and what we're looking at right now is his extradition to the US, but it is required. The British said the only way that we will send him your way is if you promise you won't give him the death penalty. And it still hasn't happened yet, but I thought I'd look at his chart to see when and what could happen to Julian. But most of all, I want to see some very interesting things in his chart. Now, a lot of people have different views on Julian Assange, and let me explain what they are. Some people think, well, you know what? The governments need to have some things that are secret, you know, in case of war and being attacked and all these things. There needs to be some privacy. But all at the same time, what if what the governments are doing is so corrupt that we need to know? So there's two sides of this viewpoint. So I don't know what side you believe in, but you know what? I kind of believe both sides. Yeah, the government needs to be secret about certain things, but other things that are absolutely ridiculously corrupt should be exposed. So there's no right or wrong really in this, except this is a law, this is a ruling. You can't do this. You can't publish all this classified information publicly. And that's just the law. So he broke the law. So anyway, he's been in the London prison for a while. He was running around the world, you know, kind of like trying to escape the law for a long time, but now he's been in prison for quite some time. I thought we'd look at his chart, and I have something very interesting to compare his chart with. I think you're going to want to listen. So before I continue on, I want to remind everyone to sign up for my free newsletter. Go to galacticcenter.org. You will get my predictions delivered free to your email. Plus, while you're there, check out my Patreon page, where, of course, you get to tell me what videos I'm going to be doing on YouTube. And of course, we have just an entire spiritual community. You will find like-minded friends there. And last but not least, don't forget about my new Galactic Planner. So go to galacticplanner.com, sign up, you get a free month, try it out, see if you like it. It's going to give you all of the transits to your personal chart, and it will be delivered to your calendar so that you can better plan your days according to the stars. How cool is that? So it's galacticplanner.com. And don't forget, last but not least, if you want to learn Vedic astrology, I have an online university. Go to universityofvedicastrology.com and become my student. So now let me scoot over. We're going to look at Julian's chart here. So looking at his chart here, I want you to know that he has Scorpio as his rising sign. Scorpio is the sign of secretiveness, And it is a very intense and passionate sign. Now, Mars is his ruling planet. Mars rules Scorpio in the Vedic system. We don't use the outer planets for rulers. So Mars rules Scorpio. And his Mars sits in Capricorn in the third house. Capricorn is Mars' exaltation sign. And what that tells me is his will, his strength of character is beyond what you can imagine. Whenever you have Mars, which is the indicator for the third house in Vedic, the third house rules brothers, sisters. Mars is actually the Karaka, meaning indicator for the third house. When you have Mars in the third house, you will most definitely be the most strong-willed individual there is. You can't have it any better. And to top that off, his Mars is conjunct Rahu, which makes it 100 times more intense. So Mars, Rahu, and Capricorn in the third house of courage, willpower, drive, and ambition. This is extreme. So he is willful, he is courageous, and he is strong because he probably feels very strongly about this information. So beyond all the repercussions that he's going through right now, he did it anyway. That takes a lot of courage on his part to do what he felt he must do. Even though many people may think it's wrong, this is what he felt. So going to the 8th house, which that's the house that I look for right away, because what is the 8th house? It is secrets. It can deal with disgrace, humiliation, really difficult things, dark night of the soul. And when I go to his 8th house, he has the sun and he has Venus there. And the sun, most importantly, rules his 10th house. Now, the 10th house is the house of our work, our career, our social standing, our reputation. That is the 10th house. It's your career, reputation. The ruling planet of the 10th house, because Leo is the sign on the 10th house, the sun rules Leo, so therefore the ruler of his career house goes to the 8th house of disgrace, humiliation, and endings. The 8th house is the house of death. His job is over with when, he did what he did. And the 8th house can be considered the house of corruption, okay? But it's deep, dark things, all right? Also deals with research, metaphysical things, getting to the bottom of things. So it makes total sense to me that his sun, ruler of the 10th house, sits in the 8th house. Plus it's in Gemini. His sun's in Gemini. What's that about? Information, learning, communications. That's what he did. He got all the dirt on everything and everybody and exposed it. Now the sun sits in the same sign with Venus, so they're considered conjunct, and Venus rules the 12th house. It also rules the 7th house, but it rules the 12th house. And the 12th house is the house of what? Imprisonment. It rules prisons and loss and secrets behind the scenes. So of course he has the ruler of the 12th, Venus, in the 8th house of corruption and bringing things out. His chart really specifically speaks to exactly what his life has been all about. Now, Saturn sits in the 6th house, and the 6th house is work and service. And his Saturn and Jupiter are opposed to each other from the 1st house to the 7th house, excuse me. The 7th house is where Saturn sits. And this opposition is extremely strong whenever you have Jupiter and Saturn aspecting each other. It speaks volumes as to the power an individual can have. And with Saturn being in the 7th house, this doesn't bode too well for marriage, does it? The 7th house is the house of marriage. So Saturn is separation and problems with a marriage, aloneness. But Jupiter aspects it, so he does have partnerships that probably support him in some way. Now, his moon, though, sits, no surprise, in the 12th house in Libra. 12th house is the house of prisons, imprisonment, and secrets, behind the scenes, and loneliness. So I'm sure he spent a lot of time contemplating and alone. Now, when you look at the moon actually rules the 9th house of truth, spirituality, and travel. And it sits in the 12th house, meaning, you know, he's been all over the world. He was born in Australia. He's in a prison in England. And of course, spent much time in the United States. I mean, he's been everywhere. He was even in Central America hiding out for a while. So this is world travel, to say the least. But there's something about, I want to say, him with the moon ruler of the 9th in the 12th. Does he always tell the truth? Well, he has a lot of secrets. That's one thing I will say. And the 9th house being the truth, well, the moon rules the truth by ruling the 9th and goes to the 12th. There's a lot of secrets he still has. But when we go to the 9th house, he has Mercury K2 there. And I want to get to this Mercury K2. In the 9th house, deals with the legal system, the law, and opposing his Mercury K2 is Mars Rahu. In the 3rd house, now I know I said the 3rd house deals with willpower, drive, ambition. It does, but it also rules communications. And what did he do? He got information out there in a huge big way, with Mars being exalted in Capricorn. And Capricorn actually does rule governments. But there's another chart I want to line up with this so we can better understand what this is all about. This is huge. Okay, let me put up the chart of the United States, and you're going to see how he aligns with the United States chart. It is astounding to me. Putting up the chart of the United States, notice in the US chart, in the 2nd house, it deals with money for the US. There sits Pluto and K2. So money is what makes a country run and go, and money equates to power. But really, the 8th house in a chart equates to major, deep, dark power and big money. And for the most part, the 8th house can deal with corruption. So looking at the United States chart, look at the 8th house. We have Mercury and Rahu there. But what I found so interesting is Julian's Mercury K2 sit in the 8th house of the United States chart. On the United States Mercury Rahu, there sits his Mercury K2, bringing the corruption and the truth out of a lot of things that probably needed to be hidden, but they're not. He has exposed a lot. And a lot of it doesn't look good. So, and we don't even know the likes of everything. But he did a lot of exposing, and look at that. Does he bring the truth out? Well, it could be that this is exposing deep, dark corruption in the United States, all right? Now, going across over to where Mars sits. Mars sits, and by the way, I just noticed that Mars sits at 28 degrees of Capricorn. That's pretty astounding. That is the degree, that is the exact degree of exaltation for Mars. The whole sign it's exalted, but there's a certain degree that makes it over the top. That's where Mars is. And that is unbelievable how strong he is and adamant in his beliefs and his viewpoint. But this Mars Rahu sits on his K2. Sits on the United States K2 and Pluto. He is exposing the power behind things, the corruption behind all the money and where it's probably been going that we don't know about. I don't even think he told it all, but he exposed a lot, and that's why he's in big bad trouble. And but his Mars Rahu and his Mercury K2, the way they intertwine with Pluto K2 in the United States chart in the 2nd house, and Mercury Rahu in the 8th house of the United States, dealing with corruption. And by the way, Mercury rules in the US chart. It rules the 10th house of the president, the leader. So there's been a lot of corruption behind presidential leaders here. That's what it tells me. And with Rahu, it's pretty extreme. So he has the goods on everyone. Do you think they're going to let him out? I should say not. Not with the information he has. So anyway, I was thinking to look ahead for him. And Jupiter's in Taurus now. Jupiter is aspecting his Saturn and his Jupiter. This could be while Jupiter's in Taurus, and it's going to be in Taurus between now and May of 2025. He could be extradited to the United States. But by the time I think Jupiter goes into Gemini, which will be in May, June of 2025, and it will be there till 2026. I think maybe he may be called upon during that time to release some of the information he has. Why? Because Jupiter will be in the 8th house. And this is that house that deals with all the secret stuff and goods he has. It may do the president at that time some good to get him over here and ask, tell us what you have. Let's use that to get to the bottom of things. So that's what I think, thinking about that. Plus Rahu and K2. Well, let me just say, K2 will go through Leo around that time, and Rahu will be in Aquarius during that time, which will be in his 4th and his 10th house. Something will change with his location, Rahu in the 4th. So there's a lot that's pending, a lot that's going on, and I think something's going to change, and maybe what he has, the goods on people, could be an advantage to somebody, whoever it may be, in the White House. So we will see how the future treats Julian Assange. And wow, what a chart he has. Fascinating, interesting to see what his life's been about and what he's about through looking at his chart. So with that, I think I'll close. If you would like more information on me, if you would like a reading, you would like to join my Patreon page, all the good things, sign up for my newsletter, and also find out about my calendar, the Galactic Planner. So go to galacticcenter.org. You can find all of that there. As well as remember, I'm starting my semester 1 for the University of Vedic Astrology this summer. Go to universityofvedicastrology.com. Thank you.